Last time on Blue Lock, Asagi's team are the first to clear the second selection, followed by Nagi's team and 5 more teams, making the tally of players left in Blue Lock 35. But while among the other teams Asagi sees familiar faces, he's shocked to find out his friend Kunigami not being among them. But before Asagi has time to process this, Ego make a shocking announcement that higher-ups of Japanese soccer want to shut down Blue Lock. However, here's the crazy part. They can continue on, and not only that, but play as Japan's U20 team if they can defeat the current Japan's U20, which just added Ren's older brother Sae into their ranks. Stunned, anxious, and excited, in 3 weeks' time, our diamonds in the rough get ready to take on their biggest challenge yet. The new season starts off in dramatic fashion, where we see a flashback of Ren and his older brother Sae on a soccer field. Ren is challenged to a one-on-one match by his older brother, and if he loses, their dream, of which we don't know about yet, is over according to Sae. Ren refuses to take part at first, but Sae doesn't listen to him and presses forward with the ball. Ren tries to defend, but in a swift action, Sae is already ahead of him with the goal wide open to him. At this instant, Sae questions Ren's training in the last 4 years and shatters their dream with an effortless goal. In the next scene, Ego receives a call from Bharat Suda of the JSU, who first thanks Ego for the large success of the upcoming Blue Lock vs Japan U20 match, only to then mock his Blue Lock full of strikers and their chances against Japan's finest U20. But Ego is unfazed and reminds him that Blue Lock is going to revolutionize Japanese soccer. We then see Ego addressing all the remaining participants of Blue Lock, telling them they will now compete to become the world's #1 egoist by taking on the U20 in 3 weeks' time. As the participants start questioning Ego about their chances against a team with proper team balanced in all aspects of the game, while they're all just strikers, Ego quickly silences them and starts announcing the names of the current top 6 at Blue Lock. Ren the prodigy in first as expected, followed by some new faces. Meanwhile, Asagi listens anxiously, hoping his name will come up. The last player is left, and it is Nagi. Visibly upset at this, Asagi makes a face as if Nagi had eaten the pizza slice he was saving for later. Upon Mr. Mild-Mannered Glasses-Wearing Model's question regarding how the ranking is based, Ego answers that No. 1 and 2 are the only 2 who managed to score against the World 5, and the rest are based upon their performance thus far, evaluation by the World 5 and by Ego's arbitrary whim. Ego then goes on to explain the criteria for selection for the team that will play the U20, that being the top 6 made into 3 pairs, while the rest decide which pair they want to team up with to make several 5-member team combos. Each of these combos will then match up against each other. However, only the top 6 will be safe, while the other players on the losing teams will be removed from Blue Lock. Furthermore, Bachira is announced as the No. 7 or runner-up and will get to play twice. Ego then sends the top 6 to another room and addresses the 29 remaining participants. He tells them the key to passing the tryouts is assertion and coexistence, and to think of the top 6 as lowly stepping stones towards their path to glory, and even the top 6 can drop out if they flunk the tryouts. Immediately after that, a timer shows up with 24 hours on it, which is the time the rest of the participants have to decide which top 6 duo they want to team up with. We then see the large dining hall of third selection, where the former Team Z boys are seen munching down, especially Ayagaguri, who takes full advantage of them having access to the whole menu for that night by getting everything, but freaks out over Gagamaru for taking a piece of his dinner as if he had stolen his inheritance. The boys then remember the rest of Team Z that couldn't make it past second selection, especially Kunigami, but Chigiri quickly reminds them they don't have time to worry about others when they could all be facing the same fate if they lose to the U20. The former Team Z boys then discuss which duo they want to team up. Bachira asks Asagi if he'll join Ren or Nagi. Asagi remembers what Ego mentioned about assertion and coexistence, and wonders which of the 2 would be the best option. In the top 6 VIP room, Mr. Four Eyes tries to be chummy with Nagi, while Antenna Head and Rin get into their own version of greeting each other. Ego then appears on a screen in their room and reminds them who they are and that they are here to transform Japanese soccer. Meanwhile, Asagi, not being able to decide which duo, begins to lose his mind. Baru politely asks him to stop doing that. Baru tells Asagi he won't grow as a player if he plays with someone he knows, and he absolutely does not want to play with Nagi, aka Mr. Hassel. Baru then motivates Asagi in his own way and leaves. Nico shows up and the 2 discuss the matter with joining the right team, with Nico in favor of joining the duo that lets him play his own style. Nico then asks Asagi to exit the bathroom because he doesn't want anyone seeing him washing his forehead, leaving Asagi wondering what he has to hide under there. Asagi is then seen sat in front of a giant screen contemplating which team he should join, when Ryo shows up. The 2 discuss how both of them want to stay on the same level as Nagi and don't want to fall behind. The next day has arrived, and teams are being announced for the final assignment. Asagi decides to join Rin's team and sees that Bachira did the same, while Baru and Nico join the same team, and Ryo joining Nagi's team. Asagi realizes this is his best shot at making his place amongst the best, and show what he is truly made of as he walks out onto the pitch for his final assignment. Before the episode ends, we see Buratsuta, the special advisor to the Japanese Football Union, talking to Hoichi Seiji, the manager of Japan's U20, about crushing Blue Lock. As the two grown men giggle like little girls at the idea of crushing Blue Lock, we catch a glimpse of an unknown figure, who Buratsuta calls Captain. The top 6 guys are deciding on how to divide the 2 rooms available to them. Rin gives the first suggestion, which is he takes one room while the rest take the other, and gets immediately rejected, while Antenna Head and Radish Head try to settle it with Ego Rock, Paper, Scissors. Upon Spikehead's suggestion, they decide to point at the person who they don't want to share a room with, and everyone points at Rin, which means his original idea of him having a whole room is back on, which the others realize quickly and scratch the idea. In the end, it's Yukimiya, Nagi, Rin in one room, and the 3 Spikeheads in the other. In the second episode of Season 2 of Blue Lock, after joining Team A, Asagi's first match is against Team B. As Asagi wonders who he'll play with and against, a 5-minute timer on the screen counts down the time to their decisive match. Titled, The Assassin and the Ninja, the second episode kicks off with the monitor screen going over some rules regarding this selection. Those being that there would be 5 matches played in total, with a 6-hour interval between each, and observing other teams' matches is not allowed to ensure fairness. Through a random selection process, the players for both Team A and Team B start getting announced. Team A's first being Nanase Nijiro, second being Hiyori Yo, and third being our very own Isagi Yoichi.
Let's go!
The announcement catches Asagi off guard, like he was a student who was caught dozing off and got his name called. Gagamaru and Igarashi seem to enjoy this quite a bit. Then Team B's players get announced, with the first player being Shiguma Kyohei, and the second being Saramadara Kairu. The last guy on Team B, who could it be? It's Shigiri Hyoma, the speedster. Facing off a friend who knows his game right off the bat, Asagi believes it to be a tough start. As both teams head to the arena through their respective gates, after putting on their uniforms, Asagi gets laser focused on the task at hand, thinking of even his teammates as rivals.
Wait a minute!
Buzzing with excitement, country boy Nanase introduces himself to Asagi, telling him he's in his first year of high school. Hiyori also chimes in to mention he's a second year, just like Asagi. As Hiyori is from the posh Kyoto, Nanase asks him, doesn't that make him an elephant instead of saying elegant? The 3 new teammates laugh that off, getting to finally breathe a breath of fresh air, as so far he had mostly only played with deranged egomaniacs who had as much unity and imhef. The doors to the field open, where they are immediately met with the 2 top 6 of their team. Isagi tells Hiyori he's a former teammate of Rin, and when Nanase's greeting gets shot down by Rin, having been familiar with the diva, Asagi tells Nanase that's just how he is. Meanwhile, Team B is here, with their top 6 duo, Karasu and Otoya, telling them to handle the rear from the start. Assertion and coexistence. Asagi remembers the 2 things Ego mentioned that he considered key to acing the tryouts with the top 6. The monitor screen then announces that the team to score 5 goals first wins, and the first match between Team A and Team B is finally underway. Asagi prepares to adjust to Rin and Shido's attacking patterns to make himself appealing in the team. As Shido leads the attack, he gets intercepted by Otoya quickly. Asagi reads the situation and makes himself open to a pass from Shido, who obliges happily. On the ball, Asagi uses the power of eyes, his specialty, and passes the ball to Rin. Taking advantage of the other team's first time playing against them, Asagi creates an unstoppable back-and-forth charge with Rin towards the goal. Seeing the line of the last pass that will lead to a goal, Asagi makes the pass but gets outplayed by Chigiri. Having cleared the ball, Team B begins to prepare for a counter when Shido announces, "My ball," and is already in B's box, all the way from the other half, surprising Asagi with his incredible speed. Asagi sees the place he needs to be in to make this play and moves into position for a pass. But with a stunning no-look-back shot, Shido makes it clear why he's the second best in Blue Lock. While Shido scratches his face like a crackhead from the excitement of his goal, Asagi realizes this is that monstrous physical prowess that kicked out Kunigami. As the whistle blows for the continuation of the game, Asagi, frustrated by not having been able to become an appealing option yet, moves in to steal the ball from Shido. But Karasu immediately takes Asagi on and pushes him away from the ball, using his immense strength. lecturing Asagi he should focus on the weaknesses of his enemies rather than his strengths, since the probability of success is higher then. Karasu then exposes Asagi as being the weakest link of his team. Meanwhile, Shido charges in, but with lightning-fast step-overs, he dazzles the two, throwing off their balance, and with a final push, the number 3 of Blue Lock, Karasu Tobito, breaks through and fires in a curler effortlessly. Asagi realizes the villain in front of him, whom he must conquer if he wants to succeed, as Karasu taunts him to rub it in. Hiyori, a former teammate of Karasu back in a youth team in Kansai, then warns Asagi about the assassin, Karasu, who analyzes his opponents and exploits their weaknesses, this time having picked Asagi as his target. Still here? Drop assassin in the comments to let us know. Hiyori then advises Asagi to let him attack his weaknesses while he pushes through with his strengths. Asagi finds himself agreeing with Hiyori and decides to fight with his strengths: spatial awareness, ball movement, and direct shot. While Shido thinks things are starting to get excited, Rin disagrees, and play starts again. Rin passes to Shido, who gives it to Asagi. Asagi realizes Shido was trying to use his and Rin's passing to score a goal himself, when Karasu catches up to Asagi out of the blue and blocks his pass route to Shido. Adapting to this, Asagi thinks about passing to Rin, but Karasu wedges himself between Asagi and the ball and steals it, completely outclassing him. Asagi finally understands the key to Karasu's play: his hands. Karasu's formidable style involves utilizing his hands to control the distance between himself and his opponents. As Nanase and Shido close in on Karasu, and the three begin to take the ball from him, in smooth, swift fashion, Otoya the ninja makes his way through enemy lines and gets behind Rin in an instant to take the pass from Karasu. Letting Karasu keep the ball and draw the enemy in, Otoya used this chance to score a goal. This is how Blue Lock number 4, Otoya, aka the ninja, plays, who coincidentally is actually a ninja descendant too, according to Hiyori. While Hiroi and Asagi are in awe of the terrific assassin and ninja duo, Rin is unimpressed, as usual. Play resumes, and Asagi runs next to Rin for a pass, but gets blocked by Karasu. Rin then passes to Hiyori, who begins to imitate the play Asagi had done with Rin earlier flawlessly with his superior passing. As Otoya blocks Rin's path, while Shido moves in on the right for a pass but gets seen by the lightning-fast Shigiri, Rin halts, calculates, and takes the shot. It's a goal, right through Otoya, Shido, and Shigiri, baffling them with his blind shot, which he orchestrated by using Shido's movement as decoy and waiting till the keeper's view was blocked. The ninja and the assassin acknowledge the monster in front of them, Itoshi Rin. While Asagi gets frustrated at not making any impact on the game and thinks about how he could change that, Shigiri reads the frustration right of Isagi's face like an open book, admitting that such had been the case for all the non-top 6 in the match thus far, including himself. Realizing that the non-top 6 were merely pawns to the top 6, Shigiri prepares his focus to not lose his calm and do what he can in the moment. Play resumes again, and Shido has the ball with Karasu already on his case. Chirigi understands that he won't get the ball in the center where the more agile Otoya was already present, so kicking into top gear in the open space, Shigiri sprints along the right wing, dashing forward to create a pass opening like a locomotive in top gear, leaving Asagi in the dust. Karasu sees Shigiri's intentions and lofts the ball to him. Shigiri receives it, but Rin, having anticipated this, is already in position to defend against him when Shigiri sees the ninja bursting forward to an opening and passes it behind Rin to Otoya, who makes the score 2-3 with an impeccable finish. Asagi gets frustrated by Shigiri, who, using the assertion and coexistence method, was able to create new possibilities for his team's attack pattern and made himself acknowledged before him. Seeing Hiyori do what he can to be involved, Asagi decides to position himself in front of the goal and wait for a chance to hit his direct shot but gets covered by Karasu. Asagi sees the ball fly towards him from Hiyori, but it wasn't meant for him. Rather, it's for Rin or Shido? The two arrive at the same position to get the ball but collide into each other and lose it to Shigiri, who thinking quickly passes it to Otoya, who gives it to Karasu, and Team B takes the score to 2-4. Rin and Shido bark at each other like dogs. Taking note of this glaring flaw in his team, Asagi finally begins to see the pieces to his chance at creating an appeal. With Rin and Shido butting heads and showing not a shred of chemistry between themselves, Team A is right on the brink of losing. Having struggled throughout the whole match thus far, not knowing how he could make himself useful and cement his value in his team, Asagi finally understands what he has to do: become a link between Rin and Shido. With this newfound strategy, can Asagi finally make an impact in the game? And can he do so in time before his team and hopes are eliminated? We find out that and more in Episode 3 of Blue Lock Season 2. Having been the very best of the best by playing soccer just to score goals for themselves, Ren and Shido clash together instead of cooperating and linking their games. Not having any options, Asagi decides to go with it after all. The whistle sounds and play resumes. Ren tries to redo his previous back-and-forth play with Hiyori again, but Otoya is not too keen to let that happen and blocks off Hiyori's pass to Ren. That's when Asagi calls out to Hiyori for the pass. But Karasu won't just let that happen and cover Asagi. As Asagi struggles to lose Karasu, Nanase pounces forth. Knowing he can't possibly match with the Ren and Shido, Nanase analyzes Asagi's movements to support Ren. Believing that something could be made from this play, Asagi slips away from Karasu, avoiding his specialist hands, and onto the receiving end of the through pass from Nanase. Sensing a goal at hand, Asagi thinks about where to take this play. Not seeing an easy shot at the goal from the spot, with Chigiri in the way on top of that, Asagi thinks about passing it to Ren. But Otoya sees this immediately and gets in front of Ren to prevent that. At the same time, Shido calls Asagi asking for a pass. Thinking of it as a simple 1-2 play from Shido, solving his Chigiri problem with it too, Asagi passes to Shido expecting a pass back, which would result in his goal. But the number 2 of Blue Lock, having a different plan in his mind, pivots right at the spot by leveraging from the Team B defender present there, and fires a spinning banana shot from that position, leaving everyone stunned. As Shido declares himself the strongest in the box, Asagi wonders why he even thought he would be getting a pass from that ball hog in the first place, while also realizing potential new playing styles, now that Nanase is on the same page as him. Play resumes again, and Karasu finally starts seeing Asagi as a threat. Thinking about crushing Asagi before he becomes lethal, Karasu starts dashing towards him. Rin comes to Asagi's help, kinda, because he then tells Karasu to come at him, leaving the dead body Asagi alone. Taking the bait, Karasu and Rin face off. As Karasu tries to get past Rin by assessing the distance with his hand, Rin deflects it by lifting his elbow. Not seeing any way of getting past Rin, Karasu thinks about passing it to Otoya, whom he could see in his field vision up ahead. As Karasu steps back to position himself for it, Asagi slides in out of nowhere, completely catching him off guard.
Oh my!
And steals the ball from Karasu. With Hiyori and Nanase reading his movements, Asagi plans to dominate the midfield with this trio. Pursuing the counter at full throttle, the three move forward, passing it amongst themselves. Hiyori meets Chigiri on his way, forcing him to make a pass there. Predicting that Hiyori would pass to Shido, who would move in towards him for it, Asagi figures out the area where he needs to be. The area which Shido would be leaving behind, the area right in front of the goal that will allow him to both score and subjugate Shido simultaneously. Seeing Asagi's plan, Hiyori delivers a beautiful pass over Shido to Asagi. Finally about to realize his moment that he had waited for the entire match, Asagi leaps to collect the pass, but he falls short just by a few centimeters. His physical capabilities had failed him. Although keeping up mentally, Asagi could not compete with those around him physically, and the realization crushes him. The ball lands in a free area, and Otoya wastes no time clearing it. It's a loose ball, and both Rin and Karasu charge towards it. But Rin is able to keep Karasu at bay by grabbing him and getting a clean hit on the ball. Rin makes the score level. Asagi had breathed a new life into Team A, and Karasu doesn't like that too much. While they were able to coexist better, the deranged egomaniac side of Asagi still doesn't believe he was playing the soccer he wanted to play yet. Hiyori starts speaking to Asagi regarding the pass, which breaks Asagi out of his psychotic trance. Hiyori apologizes for not giving him a better pass, but Asagi tells him the pass was perfect. He just couldn't keep up with it. Hiyori then tells Asagi that perhaps he should stop seeing, thinking, and then acting on it, and instead just try sensing as he moves. Make thinking a reflex, because at this rate, he could never cut it because of his glaringly lacking physical abilities compared to his superior teammates. Asagi is left speechless at what he's hearing. Meanwhile, the whistle sounds and play resumes again. Karasu has the ball again, and not wanting to repeat what had earlier, he passes to Otoya right away this time. Otoya passes it back, and as Rin and Asagi try to press Karasu, Karasu shoots the ball straight ahead through the space Asagi left him. Chigiri dashes for it, and when it seems like no one could stop this goal from happening, a flying Shido collects it and shoots it back. Nanase receives it, and him, Asagi, and Hiyori launch a counter. On the ball, Asagi wonders about what Hiyori had said to him earlier about thinking as a reflex when Karasu shows up to cover him. But Rin and Nanase follow suit, and the three initiate a triangle passing play to blast past Team B's defense. Asagi then passes it to Hiyori on the left wing, but Chigiri is right on his tail, bent on not letting him have his way. As the entirety of both teams charge towards Team B's goal, Asagi contemplates his move, the ideal place he needed to be to score. Realizing he was repeating his mistake of thinking first and acting later again, Asagi decides to stop thinking and feel it as he goes. He already sends a cross, and as Ren and Shido prepare to pounce at it, Asagi leaps ahead in front of them, like a freight train, completing zoned in and smashing the ball into the top left corner of the goal to settle the match in his team's favor. As Asagi tries to process what just happened, an elated Nanase jumps on him, bringing them both to the ground, asking him how he did that. Asagi tells him he wasn't sure either since he just left himself to his senses and moved into the right place. As Nanase praises Asagi's brilliance, Asagi politely asks him if he could stop crushing him like a crate of eggs and get off. Shido comes up to them and praises Asagi too, while Mr. Too Proud to actually admit it, Ren complains to Asagi for stealing his goal, acknowledging him in his own way. Meanwhile, Ego calls what Asagi did stepping foot in the mechanism of a miracle. We fast forward a little bit and Team A's next match is against Team C, whose last player to be announced is Ryo. As Ryo looks on at the screen, thinking he finally made it to a place where he could play alongside Nagi again, on the other side at the top 6's waiting area, Mr. Four Eyes brings Nagi his jersey, telling him it's time. Overflowing with excitement for the match at hand, Nagi tells him, "Let's do this!" Blue lock additional time. Shigiri asks Otoya the all-important question. Is he actually a ninja descendant? Otoya confirms this and, upon Shigiri's request, shows him his ninja art. At the beginning, it looks like he's actually about to perform some cool ninja technique, but it's just a kabedon, aka the act of fiercely slapping the wall next to a woman to woo her. Karasu joins the two, interested in what they're talking about, but regrets it after Otoya uses him as a subject for his quote-unquote ninja moves. Last time, on Blue Lock Season 2, despite trying his best, Asagi still was not able to make an impact on the game. But after taking Hiyori's advice of thinking as he moves, Asagi finally breaks past his slump, surpassing the two geniuses on his team in that moment, and scores the final match-winning goal. Desperate to prove to Nagi that he is worthy of playing alongside him, Ryo locks in for his match. Will he be able to do as he hopes? Or will the two giants from Team A crush him before he could manage anything like that? We find out that and more in this episode. Having excelled effortlessly at everything he ever did thus far, Ryo knows there are things even he might not be able to do. Determined to show Nagi how much he's changed, he tells him to keep his eyes on him. Titled Chameleon, Episode 4 kicks off with Asagi and Nanase sitting in the review room, analyzing Asagi's goal. Asagi explains that he was reacting while thinking and moving at the same time, saying he hadn't really made such complex movements before. Hiyori enters the room and joins in the conversation, saying he didn't think Asagi would score either, and thought that either Ren or Shido would get his cross. Asagi asks him about his advice to him earlier. Hiyori elaborates with an analogy of the falling bricks game, where initially the blocks fall slowly and so you can switch shapes in time, but gradually they fall faster to the point where you don't have time to first think and then act. Hiyori compared that pace to that of playing against Ren and Shido. Furthermore, adding that pro players of the block game learn to gather available information, think about it, and put it into action by processing all that at incredible speeds. Soccer was similar to that. Asagi gets Hiyori's point. He had in that moment been able to know where everyone was, what they were doing, what his weapons were, and where the pass was coming from. Hiyori says it was Asagi's speed that had improved due to this focus of his. Nanase adds that meant Asagi's hardware. In other words, his physical abilities had improved. Hiyori affirms, comparing it to your phone service going from 4G to 5G. His hyperfocus had put him in a trance-like state in that moment, Asagi believes. But the ever-humble Asagi shows modesty by saying that happened because both of them were there. Nanase confesses that he could not keep up with Ren and Shido, but could do so with Asagi. Asagi thanks him for doing that, as that led to an increase in options available to him. Hiyori thanks Asagi because his goal gave the two an opportunity to show their worth in the team. Thrilled by luck finally favoring them, the three get hyped up. Asagi believes he could aim much higher if he somehow manages to master his new trance-like skill. The three then tune in to catch the second match between Team A2 and Team C1, live. Kickoff. Determined to prove how much he had improved since he last saw him and cement his place alongside him, Ryo produces a brilliant curling pass to Nagi. But the tallest high school soccer player, Ishikari, had other plans and headed it clear with ease for a counter to Ren. Shido, surprisingly, doesn't get the pass from Ren after calling him a long bottom lashes jerk. Instead, Ren passes it to Igaguri. Excited at the thought of being part of a counter with the best of Blue Lock, Igaguri finds his path blocked by Ryo. Unable to decide who to pass it to, Igaguri panics and passes it to Shido after he threatens to crack open his monk's skull. Seeing that the ball will fly over him, Shido cuts past Gagamaru for the ball, but the highly athletic, unorthodox Gagamaru impresses by executing a reverse back heel kick midair, passing the ball to Blue Lock number 5, Yukimiya Kenyu. It's Blue Lock's number 5 versus number 1. Yukimiya, demonstrating flawless use of drag scissors, which misdirect your opponent by shifting their center of gravity while you dribble past at max speed, leaves Rin behind in the dust. Confidently declaring he's the best in all of Japan when it came to one-on-one plays in soccer. Interested, Shido challenges Yukimiya up next, but by forcing his power and speed, Blue Lock number 5, the one-on-one Emperor, Yukimiya Kenyu blasts past Shido too. With his path blocked by both Igaguri and Ishikari, Ryo yells desperately at Yukimiya for a pass, but instead Yukimiya takes a mid-range shot right from there. Initially it looks as if it's way off, but then it slowly starts curling in, changing its trajectory. A gyro shot, Ryo calls it, but the glam man Ryu anticipates this, and gets in place to stop it, when all of a sudden Nagi bursts out of nowhere, controlling the ball with his genius touch, and hurls it into the goal to score the first goal of this match between Team A2 and Team C1. Seeing the extraordinary chemical reaction between the two geniuses, Ryo feels perhaps Nagi had outgrown him at this point. His bored buddy, who he used to pass to, had reached a point he could no longer chase after. The realization that perhaps it was time to let go begins to kick in for Ryo. Team A2 has the ball. They push for a counter. Ryo frustrates over how he's supposed to compete against the top 6 with his all-round specs that can't go above 99%, while the top 6 all have certain attributes far exceeding 100%. Meanwhile, Rin glides past him with ease, passes it to Ishikari, taking advantage of his tall stature, who heads it to the other lumbering tower of their team, Ryu, who then heads it back to Rin again, and Rin scores. Ryo frustrates over how he was supposed to compete with these monsters. Meanwhile, Rin and Shido go at it like an old married couple because Rin didn't include Shido in his play on purpose. Wanting absolutely nothing else but to be the best striker in the world was what drove these egomaniacs to shine so brightly. Ryo, on the other hand, had a very successful life waiting for him back home. He could lose here and still accomplish a lot in life by taking over his father's business. But going back to that boorish hell was the last thing he wanted. Mustering up a resolve to give it his all here like a fool if he must. Yukimiya starts the play, but Rin intercepts him, clearing the ball from him. The ball gets picked by Ryo. Embracing his talent for skillfully copying any play, Ryo makes the decision to trust it and depend on it from now on. Ryo takes charge of himself and doesn't pass to Nagi. Instead, he takes the shot from right there, a miss kick. It appears as if he had messed up, but the trajectory, just like Yukimiya's shot, changes drastically, and the ball flies into the bottom right corner for a goal, announcing the birth of Ryo's new playstyle, Chameleon. Watching the match live, Asagi calls this Ryo's answer to survive in Blue Lock, his ability to deftly pull off plays. While Nanase is in awe of Ryo's ability, Hiyori points out its most obvious weak point, which is that it can never best the original play. Asagi finds himself agreeing to Hiyori, as other players' physical attributes like height and speed can't be copied, meaning Ryo still needed to develop his new skill more. Back at the match, Team A2 managed to beat Team C1 5-3. Although still not at the same level as that of the top 6, Ryo finally sees a silver lining in the form of his new ability, which he needed to work on to get there. Nagi walks up to Ryo and praises his new ability, calling it something very Ryo-like. Ryo tells Nagi, but that was still not enough, that he wait till he becomes something that would force him to chase after him. Wait till he fits the criteria of what Nagi wanted from soccer. Nagi takes Ryo up on this challenge and leaves Ryo, who makes up his mind that he would get what he wanted no matter the cost. Meanwhile, Itoshi Sae, the older brother of Rin and Japan's soccer superstar, goes to meet with the chairman of the Japanese soccer board and the manager of Japan's under-20 team. Unaware of who they were, Sae asks who the beer belly and incompetent fool in front of him were. Adding insult to injury, Sae then starts berating Japan's under-20, especially trash-talking the forwards, labeling them incompetent nincompoops covered in puke. Disappointed by the team he was supposed to captain, Sae pulls out of the upcoming match. Before he leaves, however, the chairman plays his final card. He tells Sae that he could pick any overaged player, any legend he wanted, basically any player as long as they were Japanese. This excites Sae, who tells him that in that case, there was an idiot in Blue Lock he wanted to play with. Last time on Blue Lock Season 2, after finally getting a chance to play by Nagi's side again, Ryo showed Nagi how far he's come by awakening his new play-copying ability, the Chameleon. Meanwhile, at the threat of leaving Blue Lock, Itoshi Sae sets a shocking last-minute condition, which is that he gets to pick any one player from Blue Lock. Who could this mystery player that caught Sae's eye possibly be? And how will this affect the rest at Blue Lock? We find out in Episode 5 of Blue Lock Season 2. The episode kicks off with Asagi looking at the stats from the tryouts, especially taking notice that besides Ryo, only 2 non-top 6, Bachira and Baru, had actually managed to score in these matches. Meanwhile, the final match of the tryouts ends with Team A's Rin and Shido scoring the final goal together, while fighting over who gets to score it like 2 dogs fighting over a bone, as usual. However, once the match ends, things escalate very quickly, and Ren and Shido actually engage in a physical altercation, with Shido landing a clean kick on Ren's nose. Shido then goes in for another, when Ego electrocutes him almost into a fried chicken to stop the fight. Ego then addresses all of Blue Lock, telling them that he was finally going to announce the final 11 in just 6 hours. While reviewing who to keep in the final 11 and who to not, Ego receives a phone call from the chairman of the Japanese Football Union, Buratsuta. Although we don't find out the nature of the call till a little later on. Meanwhile, Asagi and the rest of the remaining Blue Lock players wait anxiously in the hall for the timer to finish. Asagi thinks about his chances of making the final 11, as he was among the only 4 people who scored goals and weren't in the top 6. Shido, however, is suspiciously absent from the place for some reason. The timer finally comes down to 0, and the elusive Ego finally makes his second live appearance in front of the Blue Lock players. Ego announces that this selection is based on the goal average of the players in Blue Lock, as scoring is the essence of the game. Finally, the names of Blue Lock Final 11 start getting revealed, starting off with the vanguard of the team, the cornerstone around whom the whole will be centered. That honor goes to the top player of Blue Lock, the player with the highest goal average of 2.5 goals per match, the moody genius, Itoshi Ren. Next up, due to his exceptional physical abilities, Kagamaru Gin is the goalkeeper of the final 11. For left and right center-back positions, it's the tall glam man, Ryu Jubei, and the sharp-minded Nico Iki. For side-back positions, it's Chigiri Hyoma on the right and Bachira Meguru on the left. For the role of the defensive midfielder, who connects the defense to the offense, it's the one who is best at keeping the ball whilst also being good at analyzing the game. It's Karasu Tabito. Coming to the offense, the duty of being the forwards of the team falls on Otoya Eita and Yukimiya Kenyu, who will push ahead by combining Otoya's stealth and quickness and Yukimiya's one-on-one dominance. At the core of the attack, stationed right next to Rin, it's the guy with the most exceptional ball control in all of Blue Lock, Nagi Seishiro. Finally, Ego announces the final player to make the final 11, the player that had the highest compatibility with Itsuhi Rin, who could not only coexist alongside him as his shadow, but also subjugate him to score himself. The final piece of the puzzle. It's Asagi Yoichi. Asagi is over the moon at making it on the team, while others who couldn't do so look on in frustration and anger, especially Baru, who looks like he could erupt like a volcano any second. Yukimiya then asks the question that was poking everyone's mind. Why isn't Shido in the team? Ego answers that due to Shido's extreme ego, he would be detrimental to a team based around Rin, and so he planned to keep him in reserve as a joker card that he would only use if he had to substitute Rin. Although that has since changed as Ego discusses Buratsuta's call from earlier, finally. As Ego begins to tell them about Sae's condition, we see Shido strapped up in a confinement room somewhere like Hannibal Lecter when Sae comes in. Sae tells Shido he'll set him free, but in exchange, he had to go give him his ego and go berserk for him on his team. Shido starts laughing, eerily similar to a psychopath at this. Bro's only a football player. Back at Blue Lock, Ego finishes telling them about Sae's drafting of Shido. Hearing this ticks a serious nerve on Rin. Ego then announces a 15-day training schedule for the Blue Lock 11 to train in until their much-anticipated match against Japan's under-20. Asagi and the other players get fired up with excitement now that they are just one step away from fulfilling their ultimate goal of stepping onto the world stage. On the other hand, Sae gets introduced to Japan's under-20, with Shido seen sitting in an under-20 uniform as well in the back. Although Sae very quickly reminds us he's Rin's older brother by telling his team he had no interest whatsoever in them straight to their faces. They're all surprised at this, especially Sendo Shudo, Japan's under-20 forward, who calls Sae out for his arrogance despite only being an academy-level player overseas. Sae quickly silences him by reminding him of the difference in their goals, because while Shudo was content with his current position as a forward in Japan's team playing in its top league, Sae had his eyes set on becoming the world's best. Before Shudo has a chance to say anything back, a maniacal Shido pounces out of nowhere and slams Shudo's head on the table, demanding he be put as a regular in the team if he beat everyone there in a fight. Before Shido is able to kick Shudo's head off his neck like a golf ball off a golf tee, Japan under-20's defender, Oliver Aiku, subdues the rabid dog that is Shido on the ground with ease, telling Sae he and the rest of the defensive line of Japan's under-20 had his back, so he should show his capabilities on the field and not with his mouth. Meanwhile, Chigiri, Asagi, and Bachira discuss Aiku and Japan's under-20s playstyle during their morning drill. Japan under-20s, centered around Aiku, their tall, talented defender, was a defensive team. Asagi and Shigiri wonder about how they would fare against an elite defense like theirs, while Bachira keeps repeating, by just crushing them, like a stuck record player. On his way to the cafeteria for his break, Asagi wonders about what Bachira was saying, and about his capabilities when he notices noise coming from the gym. It's Rin, going all out even during break time. Asagi asks Rin to take a break, or else he could injure himself. Rin says if that happened, then it just meant he wasn't at the level he thought he was. He had to give it his all because he was finally getting a chance to go up against his brother, Sae. Crushing him and surpassing him were the only things he had cared about, and he wasn't going to stop till he achieved that. Asagi acknowledges the drama queen's commitment, but tells him to at least take this water bottle because he didn't want him collapsing and taking Blue Lock down with him. Rin takes the bottle, only to complain it was lukewarm seconds later. We then see Ego addressing the Blue Lock players in a special meeting. Ego tells them about the concept of flow, the heightened state of mind where one is so focused on what they're doing, they lose track of time, owing their moments where they broke out of their shells in Blue Lock to this concept. Ego goes on to tell them that the key to getting into the flow was to set optimal goals. Not too below your ability that would bore you, and not too high that would make you anxious, as a joyous state never exists alongside anxiety and boredom. Ego then defines ego as the rush or the joy you feel when you unlock a new weapon on the soccer field. Ego asks all of Blue Lock to remember their time here and how much they had evolved thus far because they were going to use this flow state on game. They were the new generation of egoists who are going to overthrow Japan's under-20s and unlock a new age of soccer with their goals. Motivated by Ego's words, Asagi makes his mind up to find the goal that he could immerse his mind into. A goal that was only meant for him. Last time on Blue Lock, Season 2. Asagi's efforts bear fruit as he finally makes the playing 11. Meanwhile, Shido gets sent over into Japan's under-20 under Sae's special request. As Ego tells the playing 11 of Blue Lock about the flow state, the state where all your senses are heightened, achieved by setting realistic goals for yourself before the match. This state of mind would make or break their chances of success. Will they be able to execute this as Ego wants them? And will Asagi be able to find the opportunity to score the special goal he wants? Stay tuned and find out in episode 6. The episode kicks off with Sae returning from his training when Oliver Aiku, the captain of Japan's under-20, meets him in the hallway. Aiku tells Sae that Shido had gotten into another fight with their star player, Sendo, and now Sendo was refusing to play as long as Shido was on the team. Sae doesn't really care at all about this. However, to the Japanese under-20, Sendo was their best player, and his not playing discouraged their chances far too greatly. If that were to happen, the match would be forfeited due to the absence of a complete team, as they would not play without Sendo. After Sae asks Aiku what their demands were, Aiku asks him to play the match without utilizing Shido to win. Sae asks if the JFU had put him up to this, but the heterochromatic captain says it was mostly just him wanting to see what kind of beast the Wonder Boy Itoshi Sae really was. Sae agrees to the offer, but like the diva he is, he doesn't shake hands on it, turning the tables on Aiku by saying it was actually he who would be testing them. The 15-day training period had finally ended. Blue Lock 11 had poured their hearts and souls out in training their bodies and minds for the big day, and it was finally here at last. The boys get up and start their day like it was any other, following their daily routines, although something was definitely different. The air was filled with excitement and thrill as the hype surrounding the match grew more and more. Having had his potential suppressed at an early age by being asked to follow conventional team plays and patterns, Aiku gets excited to see if he would get the chance to see in the Blue Lock 11 what he couldn't do. The preparations are underway at full throttle at the stadium, while Rin mentally prepares himself with some meditation before the match. Thinking about his younger days when he would go and watch his older brother play and dominate, although now he was no longer in the sidelines but facing against him, the stadium starts packing up with more and more fans, excited to witness this exhibition match between the mysterious, super hyped, all-striker-based team Blue Lock and their beloved national under-20. The JFU had not wasted any opportunity to cash in on this massive event by selling jerseys, keychains, and all other kinds of merchandise there. Asagi's parents also arrive, excited to see their son play in such a big match, although hearing people have a little too much confidence in the under-20 makes them a bit nervous for their son and his team. Less than 15 minutes remain on the clock till the match finally begins as fans start taking their seats, thrilled to see Sendo and Sae in action. Meanwhile, in the Blue Lock locker room, the Blue Lock boys get into their new jerseys, wearing ones that represent Blue Lock for the first time. Bachira asks Asagi how he looked like a girlfriend looking for her boyfriend's approval, and Asagi tells him he looked good. The realization that they were playing against the Japanese under-20 team starts kicking in, but that doesn't put out the flame that had been lit in their eyes. Shigiri finds it hard to believe that they had actually made it this far when Nagi points out that this was just the beginning of the very long journey ahead. Ego joins the boys in the locker room, looking not too shabby in a blue lock manager suit himself. Ego then reveals who made it to the bench spot on the team. Raichi, Hiyori, Tokimitsu, Reo, and Bro, and even Igarashi all managed to land a spot there. As Ego tells them to be ready to jump into the game at any moment, Igarashi stands frozen with excitement as if he had won the lottery or something over making it onto the bench. Ego then shows the boys the lineup for the under-20, with a very peculiar thing about it, that Shido was missing from it. Ego then tells the team the time to show Japan and even the world what Blue Lock was truly capable of was finally here. Rilling them up by telling them to win this match and carve a permanent positive impression of Blue Lock onto the entire world, telling them to remain focused and bold and do everything they could to win this match. Arriving at the walkout tunnel, Blue Lock's players notice the Japanese under-20 already present there. Rin, Blue Lock's superstar, who also was their captain, leads the way to the end of the tunnel, where he finds his arch-enemy, his older brother Sae, standing adjacent to him. While Rin stares daggers at his brother, who could not care less, Aizu, the U20 captain, tells Asagi that they would not be playing Shido today and that they will be stopping Blue Lock from scoring any goals. The entrance doors open, and both teams start walking onto the field. The deafening sound of the enormous crowd, the blinding floodlights, and a sense of nervous exhilaration engulf Asagi as he wonders about how far he's come. Asagi begins to doubt how he will even play in front of such a big crowd, but then shifts his mind into believing he can, and he will. Rin, standing right next to him, gives Asagi a solid chop to the back of the head to make him snap out of it and calm down. The two teams finish getting in position, and the referee sounds the whistle for the start of the highly anticipated Blue Lock versus Japan's under-20. Blue Lock starts with the ball, and the formation they decide to go with is a 4-5-1 formation with Rin up top. The plan was to start off with a triangle position with Karasu and the two center backs, while the two fullbacks would move forward, changing it into a 3-6-1 nitro formation that utilized more players in the middle. The aim was to create a super flexible formation that could only be done by using an all-strikers team that could produce a goal from utterly anywhere, called the Blue Lock system. Rin passes the ball to Asagi, who quickly gives it to Bachira. On the ball, Bachira comes across the defensive midfielder of the under-20, Hayate Haru, but dazzles him with his impeccable dribbling as he beats him with a swift air rush turn, shocking him and fans alike. Looking for the right man to pass to in that current time, Bachira lands on Asagi as he generates a beautifully crafted pass that would certainly land right at his feet. That's when the key defender and captain of Japan's under-20, Oliver Aiku, decides to show them how it's done by clearing the ball from that height, baffling both Asagi and Bachira. Asagi is in awe of this super defender's game awareness, speed, and physique as he starts to get an idea of what they were actually up against. Aiku tells Asagi that on the soccer pitch, the strikers were often considered burglars who stole the balls, while the defenders fell into a more police-like role in getting them back, and that he should know well that he wasn't a policeman that would let a little burglar like him steal any balls. As Team Blue Lock gathers their heads around this stunning defensive play by the under-20s defensive juggernaut under the loud noise of the crowd chanting Aiku, Aiku, Asagi believes he had found the wall that would lead him towards his flow as he gets fired up and tells Aiku he'll need a collar if he wishes to stop him. Oliver takes the challenge from the young soccer star with open arms, and the episode ends there. Last time on Blue Lock Season 2, the wait finally came to an end. Match day between Blue Lock 11 and Japan's under-20 had arrived. Their nerves-wracking, yet their spirits pumped, the Blue Lock boys start the long-awaited match with an aggressive attack right off the bat. But when Aiku stops a seemingly unstoppable cross, it becomes clear that things weren't going to be easy as Asagi locks his sights on his next target. Oliver Aiku, the defensive cornerstone of under-20. Will Asagi be successful in conquering this defensive titan, or will the under-20 just steamroll through Blue Lock, crushing their dreams in the process? Find out now in Episode 7. Having had a taste of what it's like to go up against the pros, the Blue Lock 11 realize that they're going nowhere with Aiku guarding the center the way he is. So they decide to go with Otoya on the right wing. Asagi prepares a pass for Otoya as he gets into position to collect it, but he finds the Buddha lookalike Darai Moroku in his way. Able to predict Otoya's off-the-ball movements perfectly, Dari keeps Otoya covered by not allowing him a way ahead to collect the pass. Asagi is surprised that someone could keep Otoya at bay like that. Asagi then passes the ball over to the left winger, Yukimiya Kenyu, the best one-on-one guy among all of Blue Lock. Although before Yukimiya gets the chance to show off his skills right away, Nerutepe of the under-20 faces off against him as soon as he's on the ball. Yukimiya manages to slip past him at first pretty easily, but Neru is right next to him the next second. Calling himself a nimble herbivore, Neru contradicts a shy herbivore's docile nature with his confident defending as he clears the ball from Yukimiya. Luckily, Nagi is right where the ball ends up and doesn't miss a beat in gathering it. But Miyu Kazuma, the Doberman of Japan's under-20, holds Nagi there in place. Using his immense physicality, he stops Nagi from making a run for the goal by pressuring up right against him. That's when Aiku steals the ball from Nagi, like taking candy from a baby. And with that, Blue Lock 11 finally gets a real picture of what the under-20's Iron Wall Quartet was really like. Aiku passes it to the last man Blue Lock wants to see on the ball, Itoshi Sae. Sae makes a sprint just as he grabs the pass, although Chigiri, who had moved back for defense so that Bachira can be on the offensive, quickly catches up to him. As Chigiri thinks about using his speed to overwhelm him, Sae shocks Chigiri by hitting a hard 50-meter-plus pass. Japan under-20's left winger, Sho Kento, is on the receiving end of this glorious pass, who immediately passes it on to Kitsunezato Teru, their right winger, before Ryu even has a chance to defend. Karasu takes on Kitsune, but after a little fancy footwork, Kitsune passes it back to Sae. Having demonstrated a perfect use of the Catenaccio counter, which uses strong defensive play to stop opposing goals and then counters catching them off guard. Sae starts looking dangerous near the goal. That's when Nito and Chigiri step in to stop him in his tracks. Sae stuns everyone with his quick thinking and vision as he delivers a stunning looping pass to the under-20 forward, Sendo. Sendo makes solid contact and sends the ball flying towards the goal. But thankfully, it doesn't end in a goal thanks to Gagamaru's Gagamaru punch. The ball falls towards the left corner, and Sae dashes after it. Sae then shows everyone why he's called the Genius Sae by hitting a goal from an angle few could even think about attempting a goal from. The entire stadium jumps with excitement over this beautiful goal. Their chants weigh heavy on the Blue Lock boys, who start feeling like NPCs in Sae's world. As Asagi stands frozen in place, feeling completely unseen, Rin tells him to snap out of it and swears to turn the crowd's cheers into wails in the next 90 minutes, or he isn't Itoshi Rin. The under-20 team comes over to Sae to congratulate him on his goal, but Sae, being the problematic diva he is, doesn't want to get along with them even in moments of triumph. Calling them losers, especially roasting Sendo for missing such an easy goal that even a monkey would have scored after Sae had stopped himself 3 times from scoring just to get this lackluster team going. Sendo doesn't take well to being called someone who's worse than a monkey, but Aiku calms him down, telling him to not miss any more chances moving forward. Using their 4 elite defenders, the Japan under-20 team had stopped the Blue Lock attackers in their tracks. And then, stealing the ball from them in this confusion, they launched a counter starring Sae that delivered them a goal at the end of it. This was the playing style of Japan's under-20 soccer team. Asagi thinks hard about a way to work around this strategy of theirs that was proving to be so formidable. Meanwhile, at the bench, Henri shows concern over the final training camp drills not playing out like they expected. Ego, however, expected this as things change completely in the real thing. Mental state, muscular tension, and stagnant thinking are all variables experienced in the actual thing that oftentimes lead to a failed performance in the actual event, no matter how successful the training was. Mental stress was the main culprit in all of this. Although there was one way to overcome this problem: improvisation. Through ad-libbing, Blue Lock 11, using the ego-fueled soccer that had been beat into them at Blue Lock, could make their way out of this slump. And Ego had complete faith that his diamonds in the rough were capable of that. Trying to not occupy his mind with useless thoughts, Asagi clears his head for the task at hand as Blue Lock 11 resumes play with possession. Wakatsuki Itsuki, the defensive mid who looks like he might have a fascination with eating brains, squares up against Rin to block him. Rin makes a short pass to Asagi, who was hovering right around him, and the two leave the under-20 midfield in the dust with the quick link-up play. Passing the ball to Bachira, Asagi and Rin gallop to the front. Joining Nagi to make it 3-2 in favor of Blue Lock, Asagi splits up to take position for the goal. Aiku takes on Asagi, while Kazuma takes on Nagi. Although Nagi insists he be given a pass, Bachira has his eyes set on the player who could utilize it the best, Itoshi Rin. As Rin elegantly collects the pass, Ego praises Rin's improvisation, believing his awakening would set the tone for their victory. In an attempt to show up his older brother, Ren keeps going until he almost crosses the corner line, stops and takes a shot right from there at the goal. The shot is great, and the angle is perfect too, but a slight graze of the keeper's gloves prevents the ball from becoming what would have been a sensational goal. The ball rebounds from the goal and falls to Yukimiya, although Neru is once again in his way. Spotting his teammate in a pinch, Asagi circles around Yukimiya, confusing Neru if he'd pass or take it ahead himself. Yukimiya charges ahead himself and drills a cannon into the top right corner. Aiku, however, is able to block this as well somehow, and the ball rebounds to a free zone. Darai rushes to clear it, but getting payback for earlier, Otoya beats him to it as he takes his shot at the goal. But the deranged Doberman of Japan's under-20, Kazuma, stops the ball with his bare face. The ball flies into the air and starts falling in Nagi's direction. Two under-20 midfielders hasten towards Nagi to prevent him from doing anything, but Nagi, with the help of his superior ball control, controls the ball between his shin and foot, transitioning it into a tap lift, and with a glorious jumping turn, Nagi Seishiro introduces himself to Japan by scoring the first goal for Blue Lock 11. The whole world freezes, it seems, as though someone had stopped time itself. Thinking perhaps his introductory goal wasn't up to par, Nagi wonders about the sudden pin-drop silence when roars of cheers erupt from the fans all of a sudden. All in awe of the mind-blowing goal they had just witnessed, Aiku recognizes the allure of the all-striker team finally, as they prove they could be quite potent if the circumstances were such. The episode concludes with Nagi celebrating his goal by sitting cross-legged on the field with his fist to the sky, basking in the excitement of the entire stadium that was going wild over his goal. Last time on Blue Lock Season 2, the Blue Lock 11 face a setback as Sae produces a brilliant goal from the side, reminding everyone why he's called Sae the Genius. However, after much struggle, Blue Lock 11 equalizes through a stunner from Nagi. How will the under-20 respond to this, and will Blue Lock 11 be able to capitalize on this? Let's find out in Episode 8. The episode kicks off with the world still simmering in the masterpiece Nagi just cooked up. With the crowd still ablaze, Asagi starts feeling like perhaps making it to the world stage was not so far-fetched after all. Upon Henri's curiosity over why their team's attack suddenly started working, Ego tells her it all started from Rin's goal attempt through sheer ego-charged improvisation. Ego elaborates further by saying, in any field, the losers always try to find an excuse to justify their failures when things don't go as planned. However, the select few who, despite initial upsets, keep pushing on, looking for alternatives, are the ones who end up succeeding in the end. Rin was the trigger to that in Blue Lock, and Asagi was the key to awakening Rin. Picking up on the same thing Ego was talking about, Asagi goes over to Rin and praises his goal attempt in order to lift his spirits, but Rin takes offense to it instead, catching Asagi off guard for a moment. To Rin, everything was bent on scoring the goal. Whatever he did prior to that was irrelevant if it didn't end up in a goal, no matter how impressive it was. Rin also points out Asagi's ego, reminding him how he himself split halfway to find a goal for himself. This constant tussle of trying to get one over the other was what drove them, what made their dynamic work. Asagi agrees with Rin on this, and gets even more determined to find his special goal. 30 minutes have passed, and the game resumes again at 1-1. It's the showdown between the brothers, finally. Rin has his emotions on full display as he tries to take the ball from his cool, quiet older brother. Using Rin's tackle against him, Sae executes a block and turn flawlessly, although Rin is able to read this just in time to hang on. Barely. Sae then schools his younger brother by doing a cross elastico, nutmegging his brother in front of the whole world while muttering to Rin that he would never surpass him as long as he behaved as his younger brother. With the first round of the battle between the brothers awarded to Sae, the under-20 launch a big counter led by him. However, over at the defensive end, Nico, Blue Lock's censor, who with his vast field vision could predict and prevent enemy advance, stands waiting. Nico quickly analyzes the pitch, picking Sendo as the most probable person Sae would pass to. He locks on. Successfully predicting Sae's plan of luring him in to disturb their formation, Nico pauses one step early and clears the ball. The ball reaches Karasu, and Blue Lock's counter is on. Karasu accurately analyzes the enemy's three-phase defense pattern. Phases 1 and 2 consisted of a press from Hayate followed by the zone defense provided by their defensive quartet. Karasu challenges this with a back and forth alongside the swifty Otoya. This triggers the under-20's third and final defensive phase, their defensive juggernaut, Aiku himself, to take action. But Otoya misleads Aiku by passing it on to the speedster Chigiri on the right. Aiku wastes no time trying to intercept Chigiri, but Chigiri, who at this point could not be told he wasn't the fastest man on the planet, blasts off through the right wing, even leaving Aiku behind. Nearing the right corner, Chigiri makes a quick pass to Karasu, but it gets cleared by Sae. The ball then falls into Rin's feet. Aiku, who had been underestimating the boys from Blue Lock thus far, admits to his mistake and tries to redeem himself by caging their strongest link, Rin. Having observed Rin was right-footed, Aiku blocks Rin's right foot, forcing him to his left. As if the world had stopped for him in that instant, Rin takes a deep breath and strikes the outside of his right foot against the ball, curling it in and scoring a goal, leaving Aiku and the rest standing there like statues. With this, Blue Lock breaks into the lead as the score becomes 2-1. Asagi rushes to hug Rin, but Rin dodges at the last second like a skilled matador. With their team falling behind, the Japan Under-20 spirits finally catch fire as they prepare to exact their revenge by equalizing the score before the end of the first half. Under-20 gets to it right away, although Blue Lock doesn't just sit around either. To ensure they hold on to their lead till the next half, they put Plan B into play, which placed Nagi at the front while the rest of the team defended. Kitsune passes the ball to Cho, but thanks to Nico's rightly timed tackle, he isn't able to get enough power on it, and Gagamaru easily blocks the shot. However, the ball lands with Sae, who, as though he had glued the ball to his foot, breaks right through Asagi and Bachira without a problem, and fires a terrific cross right at Sendo. Sendo gives it his all to try to collect it, but Rin steals his moment of glory by thrashing the ball clear. Cleared, and with little time left on the clock, Blue Lock lowers their guard, which gets taken advantage of right away by Sae, who fires a bazooka into the top left corner of the goal. Gagamaru is unable to reach it, and the goal seems inevitable when suddenly a flying Ryu blocks the shot. The referee blows his whistle for the half as Blue Lock manages to keep their lead. As they rejoice, a fired-up Shido looks on from Episode 9 kicks off with a flashback from Ren and Sae's childhood, giving us a clearer view of how inspirational and important Sae was for Rin growing up. Rin would accompany Sae to his soccer matches, watching his brother obliterate all his opponents as he chased his dream of becoming the best striker in the world, which made Rin curious about it as well. Until one day he stepped onto the field and scored a beautiful volley despite never having touched the ball before. Sae acknowledges his little brother's potential, and this moment sparked Rin's dream into existence, to become the second best striker in the world, behind his older brother. Back in the present time, Asagi's parents get acquainted with Bachira's mother, who was also there in support of her son. The two families chat about just how much of a positive effect playing soccer has had on their lives. Simultaneously, Chigiri's mother and sister are also in attendance, delighted to see Chigiri back to his normal, beaming self again. Although beet red with embarrassment, Chigiri isn't as glad to see them there. Meanwhile, Buratsuda, the special advisor of the JFU, pins the Under-20s manager against the wall for the subpar performance shown by his team thus far, demanding they shape up and make sure to win this match using any means necessary. At the Blue Lock locker room, Ryu boasts about his glamorous block, while Ryo and Nagi share a brief yet warm moment. Ego then enters the locker room and starts giving a recap of the major events during the first half, pointing out the most important one, which was Rin breaking through their initial slump with his egoistic improvisation that was being supported by Asagi at all times. Rin had used Asagi as a sacrificial pawn at that point in order to get past their ironclad defense. Ego highlights that the team had reached this point because they all had been playing like they were the star of the team. However, that didn't mean they could take it easy from this point on. Ego breaks reality over his team by telling them they had achieved nothing yet. So they needed to continue their main character approach moving forward as well, and keep trying until the very end. Keeping the formation as is, Ego leaves the room, telling the boys to seal the deal now. Asagi resonates with Ego's words and vows to prove himself in the game just like Rin. On the other hand, the atmosphere in Japan's Under-20 locker room is the polar opposite of Blue Lock's. In shambles, the team seeks Sae's input on strategizing their game plan moving forward. But Sae, who is busy moisturizing his face, stuns them by saying he is leaving the game. That was his deal with Aiku. If the team can't keep up with him, he will leave the game. Sae rubs it in further by calling them a lackluster defensive team while praising Blue Lock, who were headed in a far better direction and showed greater potential. Aiku baits Sae, tempting him with his wild card, Shido, who was raving to be let loose on the field. Sae decides to give them another chance, tempted by the possibilities of playing with Shido. Around the same time, Rin sits alone in the locker room, with Sae's words still bouncing around in his mind. Rin thinks back on old times, back when he was a little kid with a simple dream of becoming the best striker in the world alongside his brother. The brothers grew stronger together every day, getting closer and closer to their goal. Sae then got scouted by one of the best soccer clubs in Europe, Royale. The two brothers share a heartfelt moment together the day before Sae had to leave for Spain. promising his older brother he would become the best in Japan to get scouted just like him. The two siblings give each other their word to meet on the world stage as the best in the world one day. Seeing his brother off to better opportunities, Ren pledges to himself to do his best to follow right behind his brother. He carries his brother's team to countless victories. And everything seems to be going well until one day, during a late-night practice, Sae suddenly shows up. Ren welcomes his brother back joyfully, although Sae doesn't express any warm feelings upon seeing his younger brother again after so long. Having experienced the world now, Sae tells Ren he was going to update his dream of becoming the best striker in the world to the best midfielder. Stunned by what he was hearing, Ren corrects him and tells him there was no point in becoming the best midfielder. Sae considers Ren's behavior immature, as he hadn't been out there like he had, as the two brothers get into a heated argument over it. We arrive back at the moment from the very start of the season again, as Sae challenges Ren to a one-on-one, banking their dream of becoming the best strikers in the world on it. What happens next is a brutal dismantling of Ren's hopes and dreams at his brother's own hands as he closes the chapter on their shared dream with a single goal. Sae tells Ren to quit soccer if he only played it for him, calling him an eyesore and a pain in the neck for him. These words from his older brother, who meant everything to him, really take a toll on Ren, as he thinks about giving up soccer itself at first, but then gets engulfed in severe bitterness and rage as he swears to get revenge from Sae for stomping all over what he held so dear. Time for the second half is here, as Asagi tells Ren to let's go. Walking onto the field, Ren spots a stimulated Shido, as Ego ponders how exactly Sae was going to utilize the uncontrollable force that was Shido, when even he couldn't handle him. Stay connected, like and subscribe for more fun recaps on one and only Endless Recaps.